Hi, Susie from Pink Diamond Guide. How are you today? Just wanted to add another one of our key concept videos to what we're offering in helping twins come into union and understand the processes that can help bring you into alignment with your harmonious union. So in the previous couple of videos, we've been talking about how that every twins are essentially sharing a blueprint, an energy blueprint, and they've come from a similar source point. And then we've talked about the ideals that the mission is to raise or to shift the archetype of what love looks like. But now we're going to make that, we're going to extend on those ideas and lean in on the idea that everything, and I mean everything, is energy. Every last little thing is energy, right? So this is a scientific and spiritual principle that is aligning. It's coming together and it's starting to make sense for everybody. So it's what you think, feel, act, do, touch, see, that everything is energy. And what science is showing us is that, they do these experiments that they do to understand the way the universe works. And what they've done is they've smashed apart atoms and they've had them all colliding with each other to be able to break them down into their tiny little parts to see how everything moves and operates. And essentially what they found is at the core of it is these tiny, tiny, tiny little facets of existence. They're like 1/1000th of a billionth of a centimetre small. They're tiny. And they are just these energy tornadoes that exist. And it is the forces that are being applied upon them that is causing reality to exist. And the what we think is real and what we think is operating is just how all these little facets are interacting with each other, the forces that they're applying upon each other to bring reality into existence. Now, that's all good and well, Sue's awesome, talk science all day long, but what the heck has that got to do with your twin flame journey, right? It's got everything to do with your twin flame journey. So everything is resonating at a different frequency. And what we know to be true is that humans have an energetic field that they put out in front of them, and every human is emitting about 12 gigahertz of energy at any given time, and that's coming through different centers in our body. Now, that's the amount of power coming out, but what we know is that it resonates at different frequencies, right? So humans have an emotional vibrational state that you will have a baseline energy connected to. Like, you'll be putting out a baseline energy, even though you move up and down and round and round, you explore lots of different frequencies. Essentially, there will be a baseline frequency that you revert to. Now, most of the human population, and this is a key ideal, most of the human population is getting around at 200 hertz. So this is the bulk of people are getting around at the frequency of 200 hertz. Now, what we're here to do as twins is lift the bar on that. On that 200. I should have put the 200 down here. If this is where our baseline is for where humanity's at, right? If enough of the population is vibrating at this frequency, that will be the baseline of what is being emitted as a general rule. Now, twins are here to lift the bar on that. They're here to have the baseline energy to raise above at the key point of creation for the universe is neutral. Now, the baseline for neutral is 250 hertz. So one of our big jobs as twins is to activate the processes involved to lift this baseline frequency higher than what it's currently operating at. And we go through a bunch of ascension processes to be able to work this shift with the divine, work it with the universe, the planet, the whole box and dice, to be able to lift this frequency. Now, at 200 hertz, Humans are feeling like as though life is demanding, but it's feasible. Life is hard, life is challenging, but it's achievable. So this is like a baseline energy that humanity is running around with. What we want to move it to is a baseline frequency where life is trusting and life is satisfied, and there's a more harmonious feel to the way we're operating, and the universe can create out of this neutral space. That's its happy zone for neutrality. And you'll see me talk about my tattoo here, where I go always back to the neutral point where we can experience a bunch of different frequencies, but the ideal is to get us back, is to get us operating with like a baseline of this neutral frequency, where we're lifting from this ideal of life is demanding, but I'll get through it, it's feasible, to going, I'm trusting the process, I'm trusting the journey, and I'm satisfied with my experience of walking on the planet. So you can see there's a shift in the ideal, and why we need to understand that everything is energy and anything is frequency. And if you are on a twin flame soul ascension journey, part of the mission is this, is lifting the baseline energy for humanity from this ideal of being in these lower frequencies. And like lower frequencies, what we sit in things like sadness and grief and, you know, feeling like we're not good enough, or, you know, lower vibrations sit here, and we come up with an average of how humans are operating by going, how many people are sitting in lower vibration, how many sitting in higher, and it comes out to like an average. But what we want to do is have more people sitting in higher vibrational energies to lift the baseline of the planet up into that energy. Now, when I talk about merging energies, I think a lot of twins think that twin flame merges is all about twin flames merging their energies, and it might be thinking like it's happening in like an intimate way or a sexual way, or however that's happening. But you have to understand that twin flame energies are always merged, right? So you come down from that original source point, like we talked into the in those initial concept videos, and you come down to the earth plane and you sit in separateness. But there's never nothing in the nothing, and the energies are always merging and flowing and interconnected between you. Those energies are always merged. What we want to merge into these twin flame energies, so that you're both holding the vibration, is the energies of faith, hope, and love. This is what I understand, the way the divine showed me, is to merge these energies with faith, hope, and love, and to be able to hold them into your energy field, so that your baseline energy, so if you've come to the earth plane and your baseline frequency is here, what we want to be able to do is twins to hold their baseline energy up here, right? So we want to be able to merge these higher energy frequencies, and we can say love sits in around the 500-ish mark, 500 hertz. That's how it vibrates. You can look at hope sitting in around the 400-ish hertz mark, and you can look at faith. You can put it in the enlightenments as the 700 hertz plus mark. Now, so how do we get to this baseline? We want the baseline to be sitting at neutral, right? So we want this baseline to come, if we've arrived here at around 200 hertz, and we want to have our baseline at around 250 hertz, how are we going to average those energies out? Because we're going to explore a bunch of different things when you're on the twin flame journey. Now, it's getting into more complex ideals. This is the science behind the spiritual lift, right? And if you can understand the science of why you go through challenging energies, right? Why you've got to merge these big energies with the tougher energies, because you're going to go through these lower vibe energies that are way down here. This is understand, because you've got to understand separateness and oneness. We talked about in that first one. So you're going to have things like sadness and grief, all aligning. You're going to go through those frequency processes, and you're going to go through these really super high frequency processes, and all of them are going to merge to balance you out at this 250 hertz ish, right? Across the connection, you want to be sitting in this neutral space. So you are going to run the gamut of experiences. You're going to run the positives, the negatives, to arrive at the neutral point as your baseline. That's not to say that you'll never experience happiness again or you'll never experience sadness again. It's saying that your baseline energy, where your baseline sits, is around the 250 hertz mark. How are we lifting these baselines? We're experiencing the merging of these higher level frequencies of faith, hope, and love. We're building them into our experience of being human and being alive via this twin flame ascension journey. We are going through sadness, grief, and to be able to lift it, so it will average it out to get to this 250 hertz. So we're going to lift our vibration, lift our baseline into this neutral space by merging higher energies and lower energies and coming back to neutral. That sounds like a lot to take in, doesn't it? Right, let's have a look at how do we work these processes. So essentially, right, we're establishing everything is energy. Every experience, every person, every thought, feeling, there's nothing that's not energy. And you walk around with an energy field. So you have, here you are, you've arrived on the planet as you twin. You've got a masculine, you've got a feminine energy, and essentially you've got your own energy bubble that you walk around with. Now your frequencies, like you're always connected, don't worry about that. The connection is always intact, and you will feel these vibrations between you. There will always be a connection. But essentially you have your own little energy bubble that you walk around with, and within this energy bubble, the energy is circulating, and it's going up and around and out. It is in flux, right? It's always having this process of moving and being in flux, and it comes in, it turns in on itself on this center point. And within this, you might be aware that you have your chakra system that plays out around through here. So you have these energy centers that are key points where you're able to measure the energy really intently and be able to balance and control and have that energy moving. But you are going to be doing this independently. You both have your own energy field with which to operate in, right? So you will have that. But these energies will always remain connected. As if you look into those first key concept ideals, you will know what happens to these particles is happening to these particles. So if there's a strike against this energy, you more than likely feel the strike in this energy. And if there's healing or ascension taking part here, it's happening to both sides because they are always remaining connected. But you have to understand it's always just energy. Okay, now, so we're talking about what happens in this process of your energy field and how to shift, change, adjust. So we're holding a baseline that's able to hold this connection in the new archetype successfully. So we want to have that new archetype playing out successfully. Right, let's have a look. We're just going to focus on you and your energy bubble, knowing that your twin is going to be affected by default of the science that the particles are connected. Okay, so now we just want to focus in on you independently and the energy bubble that you're walking around in, right? And how you can maximize knowing that the work you do is going to affect your union, what the process of ascension and cleaning up your energy and lifting it to that higher vibration, let's look at the effect. Just as you as an individual, we know the connection is safe, so put it up on the shelf in our little heart-shaped box. Here you are in your little energy bubble, right? And you know that when you, like everywhere you go, you're merging energy with everything and everyone you're coming into contact with. And sometimes you can walk into people, you can meet people, and your energy bubble, and here they are, they're walked into the room too with their little energy bubble, and their energy bubble crosses into yours, right? There you are, and this energy space starts to merge. Now you're going to start to feel what the connection between the two is. Your energy is going to play upon their energy, and their energy in turn is going to play upon yours. And you're going to feel immediately whether those frequencies are in alignment or whether they're not. You're going to feel whether it's an energy that you're comfortable with. In this process, you are always merging energies with everything and everyone that you come into contact with. So when we talk about twin flame merging energies, like you do it by default. You merge energy with everyone and everything that you come into contact with. But when it's your twin, that resonance feels the same, right? Or by right, it should. But they do have some work to do to bring it into the alignment, because essentially if you arrive on the planet and you're both feeling the exact same resonance, right, but you're being pushed to ascend, and the divine feminine goes first, and she's like pushing this fresh new energy in, and divine masculine is going, hang on, I need to catch up, right? So the idea is about aligning it to the baseline of neutral, right? This is the job, is bringing that neutral energy forward. So I said I wasn't going to focus on twin, but there we go. I only wanted to bring that ideal forward because the idea is that you are emitting energy by default and you are merging with everyone and everything. So this twin flame merge ideals have to be really processed and understood. Like you merge energy with everyone and everything, everyone you've ever talked to. But the shift that happens is like you do, like when you're intimate with someone, it's a different exchange of energy. And when you're exchanging energy with your twin flame, it's a different exchange of energy, but it's still merging energy every day and every way with everything that you come into contact with. Now, what we want to talk about is how we're merging energies to lift the vibration so that you can hold the frequencies required for your harmonious union, right? We want harmonious union, but the number one job is to be able to hold this baseline between you, because that's the purpose of the mission. Because we've got to sit back and go, why do twin flames even exist? What is the whole purpose of the doctrine? Is because we've got a job to do. And it's as simple as this, holding the new frequency for the new archetype so that humanity can lift its vibe, right? But the process to getting there is actually, it sounds simple, just lift your vibration. And there's a bunch of things we can do to lift our vibration, but what is practical, what is doable? And essentially it's going, all right, I know my twin's over there, I've got to do what's right for me. So let's put and we'll just try not to make this too overwhelming in how we put this in it. So you've got your energy bubble there, right? And energy is always moving, always flowing. You have to imagine as it's always in flux, right? However, it's energy moving and flowing, and it's going through this core energy center, and it wants to spin around. And everyone that you walk out into the world is bumping into this energy field, right? Your goal is to hold it at 250, but you've arrived on the planet and you've sat at the 200 or whatever you've arrived at. You might vibe higher than that, I don't know. But the whole idea is that you ascend to a higher condition. So along comes your twin flame or whatever. Let's say any life experience. Let's say you've been born into a family where there's a scenario of poverty, and let's say, for example, you still hold an energy resistance within this field to what it was like to live in poverty, or you have some level of resistance or against your parents for the fact that they put you into that situation. Perhaps your parents were abusive. Perhaps your siblings excluded you. Perhaps, whatever your situation is, there was a strike of energy from some external source that impacted your energy field. But the world tells you to deal with it, get over it, whatever it is. So you held it safely in an energy pocket within your field, right? Which held you. This seeks to hold the vibration at that low point, because this energy is going to funnel up and around, and it's going to wash through this energetic center and start to spread throughout your energy field, right? Energy wants to move. It doesn't want to sit and be stuck. But if you're going to hold it stuck in a low vibe over here, you will actually continue to infect that energy with whatever low vibe you're holding in that pocket of energy. So if you're here, you had your heart broken. Here you were rejected and abandoned, and you're going to hold it stagnant in a field that wants to move. It's actually going to lower the vibe of your energy bubble. So how are we going to counteract it? And you'll hear me talk about what we want to do is magnify the energy, because at the moment you're holding it in a stagnant spot. So there's not actually any movement if you're just holding it still in a stagnant spot. What we want to do is get that energy to move. So how I describe it is magnifying the energy, just to get it to move, just to get it to do something. Make the energy bigger, right? So you can actually have a feeling of movement connected to the energy so that it's not standing still. So that energy will then start to move, until you get it into a point where you can do something with it. Here, it's going to move through your conscious fields, right? When you expand it, it starts to move, and it's going to move into the realms of consciousness where you can actually do something about it. You can feel it until you exhaust it. Once it's energy on the move, you'll get to a point where you can exhaust it. You can put an action against it. So if this is pain, you can experience. And remember, I want you to be super aware of this. This is just a frequency. It's just a vibration, right? And at the moment, you've held it as a low vibe, and you've held it stuck. You've held it pinned as a low vibe. So what we want to do is be able to transmute the energy. That's the whole purpose of this game. Now, action is what's required. So we're going to expand the energy into our conscious thought, and then we're going to take an action. How is it making you feel? What is it making you think? What is it making you do? Does it make you want to kick, scream? How are you going to respond to the stimuli from this frequency? And you don't have to know what caused it, right? We just have to have the ability to move it, so we can sit with it, experience it, feel it, take an action on it until the energy wants to exhaust itself. All right? And then once that energy is exhausted and you're aware that you have this field of energy where something low vibe once sat, now what we're going to do with our conscious thought is we're going to replace that energy with the vibration that we want to attain, right? We want to fill that with the vibration of gratitude. We're going to eliminate the low vibe because we magnified it and we experience it. And now what we want to fill it with is the frequency of gratitude, beg your pardon. We're going to lift the vibe higher. We're going to fill it with the frequency of gratitude. Okay, so we've moved through one of our energy blocks, and let's say over here you've got an energy block, it's sitting at 100, and you might have a few of these around the place, right? You might have energy blocks that are sitting low vibe around the place, and we've gone through that process and we've replaced we've pushed it into gratitude over here, which is far more high vibing. So you will have these lower energy centers rise up that want to be healed, particularly when the cosmos goes, right, oh, we're in a process of healing. The push is on to find these centers and heal them and make them grow. And as you lift each center up, what's going to happen is the balancing out that is happening into these centers is going to rise. So the ideal is that we have our brain, our heart space, and our gut, all of which has neural tissue. So they all have a level of consciousness and they are all emitting energy. But by far and away, the one that emits the most is from the heart space. So what we want is to be able to be balancing all of these energies to be emitting as a average, as a general rule, as a baseline. We want them to be operating from a point of neutral. So we are going to, let's say, attack these low energy centers, and we're going to expand them, get them to move, come through these consciousness centers, replace them with the frequency of gratitude to overall lift the vibration of how we're walking through the world. Nothing will shift an energy center quicker than the vibration of gratitude, which by default resonates really, really closely to the vibration of love, which is really amazing. And essentially we'll be able to bring in these focus centers. Now, what we also want to bring in, we want to understand the energies of hope and faith. So we are going to go through processes. Now, how are we going to get to bring in energies that are even more higher aligned? We're going to bring in frequencies that are sitting at 700 hertz. We're going to bring frequencies that are sitting around the 400 hertz. We want all of these to be impacting our energy space. But what I'm looking at here is when we get these core energy centers that we know are sitting in our energy field, you feel these pain spikes rise, right? The fast antidote is to replace it with an energy of gratitude. And that can be gratitude for your clean undies today. It can be gratitude for the air you breathe. It is all just a frequency. And this process that I've just explored here is just the ideal of taking a pain point, like a really precise pain point, expanding the energy, pushing it through your conscious centers to replace it with the frequency of gratitude. That will start to lift your overall energy to becoming more neutral as we go. It's the fastest way I know to counteract it. But we do want to continue to merge these frequencies into our energy centers as well. Is it getting clear as mud? Hopefully it's making a little bit of sense that we've got lots of low vibing frequencies that sit in our energy field, and if they are not being counteracted by these higher vibing energies, this is what you will be interacting out in the world. You'll be bringing a low vibe. When people bump into you, they'll be going, oh, she's a bit of a sad sack, isn't she? Oh, she's angry all the time, or she's this, that, she's the other thing. The antidote for these frequencies is to be able to go, yes, I can feel sad, but I can magnify that. I can push it through my conscious center. I can replace it with a higher frequency, which lifts my overall vibrational baseline blueprint to an experience of neutral with which I can create anything I want. Okay, I hope that process is making sense. Okay, so now that we're moved through these ideas that we can have more control over the way our energy vibrates and how we move out into the world, and that the overall goal is to lift the baseline. It's the question of going, how do you bring consistent action toward your process to consistently have your vibration sit higher, because your body will want to return to what it knows, what it's used to. Like it's easy to slip back into low vibe. It's here's why. The human body has, or the human mind has, 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day, right? Different bits of information that is processing. 70 to 80,000 different thoughts, and 80 to 90% of those thoughts go unchecked, right? They are on autopilot. That is your body, your mind doing whatever it wants 90% of the time. Of those 70 to 80,000 thought processes that are playing out, 80 to 90% of them go unchecked. They are on autopilot, right? As if you have your computer program just running and running and running and running, and nobody ever bothers to stop and check what's happening. It's just the plane is flying on autopilot 90% of the time, and nobody's stopping to go, do we need a course correction? Do we need adjustments? Do we need any of the above? But that's the good news. You're going, righto, if I know that 80 to 90% of it go unchecked, I want to bring some of that off autopilot. I want to have more conscious control over the way my energy is vibrating. So it's like all of this, it's coding, right? Since the day you were born, your energy field has been coding, from what your parents say to what you watch on TV to how your siblings behave to food you eat to all of the above has been coding. Just like you are a brilliant piece of biotech, you are a computer that's able to have the program encoded from day dot. Everything that you're experiencing is coding the experience, right? It's coding how you show up, it's coding what you do. Now, if you can be coded or you can be programmed, you can be reprogrammed. The question is going, what is running on autopilot and what is it that you want to address? Which is why it's particularly important to understand that your energy field is always emanating, right? So you do in your system, you have, if this is you again, art degree really coming into useful process here, you have three brains, or three source centers that are using neural tissue. You have your brain, you have your heart space, and you have your gut. And in between them all, there is this process of information exchanging all the time. It is traveling up and it is traveling back at a rate of knots that is processing information all at one go. You have this facility that is acting upon these processes called your ego, and you have in here, you have your heart soul response, however you want to, what's going on with your heart center there, and then you have your gut instinct playing out. But all of these processes are talking to each other all the time, right? All of them are processing all the time at a rate of knots that most of it is going unchecked, right? And then you think that your brain has utter control, or the mind, or this thinking facet, but what is actually being emanated with the most intensity is the energy that's coming out of your heart space, right? So you've got all of these processes talking to each other, all of these scenarios all happening at once within your energy field. And like we said of it, 80 to 90% of it is unchecked. Wow, right? So let's take red hot charge of what we are putting into these scenarios. Are we going to rely on instinct? Are we going to rely on that gut reaction to inform these processes? We need to rely on it more. Are we going to understand what we hold as coding at our base level, our core beliefs? Are we going to understand that more? Are we going to look at the function of our ego and understand more and more and more just how much ego is running unchecked on the processes that we're operating? These are big, big, big concepts to wrap your head around. And when you start to understand this, you start to understand that you have way more control than you have ever allowed yourself to have, because all of these vibrations are emanating. By and large, nobody is checking what is coming out. Nobody is checking what is the input and the output actually serving me, or am I just vibrating out there into the world, whatever. And the thing is, this is what I want you to be 100% sure of, is reality is going to be right 100% of the time, right? It is 100% correct. So whatever this vibration is emanating, that is what reality is going to look like for you. So if in this energy field you have resistance somewhere, some way, somehow, to a twin flame connection coming into union, it will pass through that resistance center and it will move back into your conscious energy fields, and ego, heart, instinct, all of these processes all talking to each other are going to go, sound the alarm, sound the alarm, we have resistance, union is not on, and reality will be right 100% of the time. You will not be able to come into harmonious union when there is too much resistance to the process. And I'm going to say it again, reality is right 100% of the time. If you are not in harmonious union, then you have a resistance to it somewhere in your energy field, and it is being put back through your process centers, and it is delivering to you your reality perfectly 100%. Now here, if we accept that 80 to 90% of this is happening as a result of our coding, and it's happening on autopilot, we need to regain control of the plane, control of the vehicle, and we need to start actively finding where the resistance centers are and start reprogramming, so that our brains, our three control centers, and then we have our energy centers that are working. We have the facility of our ego, we have our gut instinct, we have, receiving higher consciousness messages. We have all of these processes playing out, by and large, unchecked, right? Now, if we take more control over the process, we can start taking charge of how to shift our reality from being in separation to bringing our connections into union. Now, check back to the original key concept. If this is your particles here, and your particles are connected to everything that's going on in your union over here, do you see how much more control you have over the process? But it has to come back to what's happening in your energy centers. Your energy centers. Somebody has to take charge of the vehicle. And by and large, divine feminine goes first, because divine masculine is still blissfully unaware of how much control he has over the process. But you can manage these energy centers for and on behalf of the union. How much power do you have that you do not actually comprehend at this point in time? Now, hear me again, reality is right 100% of the time. So if your union is yet to come online, it is because you still have resistance to it. If there is anything in your life that hasn't come online, it is because you still have resistance to it. The kicker is to go, where do you have the resistance? And it doesn't matter what the event is that caused it. It's just finding the frequency, the energy spot, the blockage, where that energy center sits, and get that energy to move, shift, adjust, and align with the reality that you want to happen. I know that's a lot going on at once. There's a bucket load of processes playing out at once. So can I give you some practical things to be able to align more. Because it sounds like I'm asking you to do a bucket load of work there, right? Going, you have to think this, think that, fix this, fix that, there's a lot. But what if we had some simpler processes? What are ways we can get more aligned with higher vibration? One, think about higher vibrational thoughts, right? Think about them. Actually, regularly engage about thinking about higher vibing thoughts. It's number one. Think about higher vibing thoughts, right? Higher vibes. Here's another one. Connect with people you know who vibe high. Your tribe will affect this. Connect with people who vibe high. Oh man, spell it right. It says connect with higher vibing people, okay? Higher vibe people. So these are actions you can take. Take charge. Go think about higher vibe things. Connect with higher vibe people. Eat higher vibe. Right? Think about the food that you're putting in your mouth. Where is it coming from? And have a look at Dr. Emoto, Masura Emoto, and have a look about how vibes affect water. And then think about the food and the things that you eat and drink and consume. These affect your vibration, right? And at this point, I've said nothing about how to bring your twin flame closer towards you, because none of that matters. This is what matters: aligning with the vibration of union, right? And the vibration of union is to sit in a neutral space. So if this is just maths, right, and you're trying to find where is the average of the vibes, and if you're rattling along at low vibe and you want to somehow hit this point, you've got to start introducing higher vibe activities into the mix to shift your energy. Walk barefoot on the earth. There is an exchange that happens between you and the planet. It's a biochemical exchange that you don't even have to consciously think about. But what you've got to do is have the high vibe thought and go, what is my higher vibe activity? It's to walk barefoot. Listen to what you listen to. Listen to higher vibing material. What you think, feel, like all of this matters. It all matters. Connecting with higher vibing people, they talk about different things. They don't focus on how, like such and such did so. They don't gossip about low vibing things. They want to talk about bigger ideals. Research the heck out of higher vibing ideals. The more you put focus on, right? Because at the moment, most of us are running on autopilot. So the kicker on this one is going, what are you going to focus on? If you're going to focus on low vibe activities, like, this is not to say don't run your processes about blockages, but are you going to focus on being in separation? Or are you going to focus on what you need to do to lift your vibe? The universe will deliver you directly into what you focus on. And if your number one goal is just to consistently focus on being in separation, reality will be right 100% of the time, and you will not align with your union. So what you think about, who you connect with, what you eat, what you consume, all of these things are going to make a difference when you're moving towards aligning with your union. So we don't want to sit low vibing twin flames. We want to inject into our day-to-day experience higher vibing activities. Meditation is another one. Meditate on higher vibes. Like look into what you can do to the frequencies that you can listen to. They will all help to affect that energy bubble that you live in. All of these things are making changes, but it has to be, the number one word is going, and I'm going back to this idea. If 80 to 90% of what you do is happening on autopilot, right? That's happening on autopilot. So we've got to shift, take control. What we want to do is be, if you're in here and this stuff is happening automatically, what we want to do is take charge of these centers and go, I am going to be the one projecting what that energy is that I am going to exude. I'm not just going to receive hit after hit after hit. And get this, most people have the same thoughts day after day after day. The bulk of the thoughts are the same day after day after day. You have a 20% window, I believe, of changing the things that you think about every day. 80 to 90% of the thoughts you think about will be the same as yesterday. So let's go. I'm going to decide to focus on something new. I'm going to add new thinking. I'm going to add new experiences. I'm going to be deliberate about the things I vibe with. Now, none of that energy says anything about you have to get your twin flame to understand the doctrine. Not one of it does. The number one key, as I understand it, is to understand you and to understand energy. If you can understand these concepts and then apply them to the doctrine, that's the fastest way I know to bring you into alignment with the ideals that are contained within the twin flame journey, the soul ascension journey. I've been on a bit of a spiel in this one because I believe that these are absolutely key ideals, and they don't just change a twin flame journey, they change everything in your life. When you align with what it is that what is the experience? What is it that you're feeling? What can you magnify? What can you shift? What can you change? What can you get hyper conscious of? What can you become? It's extreme ownership. You've got to take extreme ownership of the experience that it is to be human, number one, and then to be a twin flame whose job it is to raise the vibration so that humanity can follow. Big key concept ideals today, and I hope that they've been able to add something to your journey that will help you move and elevate. Righto, that's where I'm going to wrap it up today. In faith, hope, and love, it's bye from me for now.